So, did you guys see the extra credit I put on?
Yeah.
Did you see it? Yeah. It's on Canvas. Okay. Well, nobody did it over the weekend, so I was kind of surprised, but
It's due Wednesday, right?
I think I did it Wednesday. Yeah. We're good. Okay. Well, you had the weekend to watch the movie. That's why I wanted to get it done. Okay. Which I promise you guys, if you watch it, you'll end up liking the movie. Okay. Even though it's black and white. Okay. And it's old. All right. It's a classic. All right. It's an American classic with a great American actor in Jimmy Stewart here. He's a very endearing character in this movie. Okay. So remember, it's about getting control of the floor. So unless 100 senators agree to limit the length of debate, then a filibuster can take place. Okay. So basically, it's somebody getting the floor and holding the floor to prevent a vote from taking place, because you can't vote in the middle of a speech. You know what I mean? Now, again, if a whole party decides to do this, okay, you need 60 votes to stop a filibuster. All right. So if your party has 60 votes, like the Democrats had 60 Senate seats in 2009, Republicans couldn't stop anything from going through the Senate. Okay. So generally today, if you want to pass something through the Senate, like the infrastructure bill, you need 60 votes, because an intense minority can stop legislation from coming up from vote through a filibuster. So if the Republicans threaten to filibuster today in the Senate, the Democrats don't actually make them do it. You understand? It's a waste of time to actually do a filibuster. You know what I mean? Because they can't stop it. All right. So why make them do it? You just don't bring the bill up for a vote. And so there's no filibuster, if that makes sense. Okay. I just found this like 2-minute video on the history of the filibuster. I don't think it has any words. It puts words up on the screen. But. That's why. He's from Louisiana. Okay, that last part right there was called the nuclear option. So the Democrats did this under Harry Reid was the Senate Majority Leader back when Obama was president. And Republicans kept filibustering Obama's judicial appointments, the people to the federal courts. Okay. And so they changed the rule for federal judges. Did I mention this to you guys? I think I did last week. They changed the rule for federal judge appointments then you only need 51 votes and you can't filibuster. Okay, that's because the Republicans were doing it to Obama. They were filibustering all these appointments. And so they changed the rule. Well, when Trump becomes president, okay, those rules were already in place. They're making it sound like the Republicans are changing it. They had made this decision before Trump became president. Okay, so I think the History Channel is not really giving you the whole truth right there. Which, you know, they call it the nuclear option. Okay, that was done under the Democrat when the Democrats controlled the Senate. And so what goes around comes around. So Obama was able to get some of his judicial appointments in, but now the Republicans are too, and so will Biden with 51 votes. Okay. So this is kind of just an interesting part of the filibuster. The Democrats have talked about doing away with it. As you can see, it's been around for a long time. And there are 2 Democratic senators that have said, we're not going to do away with the filibuster. Okay. And so I think the filibuster is safe for now, and I'll be able to continue to teach that in future generations of government classes. Okay. So let me just back up a little bit and just make sure everybody knows what we're talking about here. Okay. We're still on floor consideration. So a bill goes to a committee, the leadership of each house, the Senate or the House get to send that to Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader. Then they bring in people to talk about the bills. Then they do the real work of marking it up, really studying the bill, the word for exact phrasing, genuine debate, all taking place here. Then it goes to the floor, okay? And that's what we're just finishing up right now, is the floor, okay? And I've talked about conference committees before, so there's your markup, okay? So when it goes to the floor, each house has rules, okay? Generally focusing on how long we're going to debate this. Are they going to allow in amendments or changes to the bill? Okay, and you have strict rules in the House and no rules in the Senate. Okay, so this allows, without unanimous consent agreement, to place limits. It allows for a filibuster. Okay, which is a major thing in the Senate. All right, so after they finish with debate or any changes to the bill, okay, then they vote. Members of Congress will show up to vote. Now, you have to be there in person to vote. They did make, for a while, during the COVID shutdown, the lockdowns, that people could vote that were not present in the building, okay? But today they're back to having to be there in order to vote, okay? This is just kind of like, this is Protection of American Act of 2007, okay? You actually see quite a few Democrats voting yes, almost all Republicans voting yes, some non-voting, and then those voting no, and those non-voting, okay? And a lot of times, guys, especially with the Senate, I mean, if you're in an election year, so like when Kamala Harris was running for president, she was also in the Senate, okay? And so she's going to miss some votes. She's out campaigning, okay? So a lot of times when you see like people that didn't show up to vote, a lot of times those people are running for president, okay? Or something's wrong, they're sick, or, you know, something's going on, okay? This is the number of filibusters throughout. This starts in 1963, goes through 2008. You can see the filibuster is a common tool that is used in the Senate. Okay. Now, on big votes, sometimes they'll call each other, everybody's name, and they'll have to say yay or nay. But generally, guys, they have a little button, like in Jeopardy, when you know, or you're playing. What's that team we have? The Scholars Bowl. You know, you got a little boom, you got a little button, yes or no. Okay. So that's generally how they do it. And I showed you some C-SPAN clips. Oftentimes, guys, you flip by C-SPAN, you'll see they'll put the votes, if they're having a vote on the floor, They'll put that information up on the screen and show you who's voting which way and that sort of thing. Okay, so let's assume a bill passes both a bill passes the Senate and the House, but generally they're going to be different. Remember, I talked about this before. I'll explain it again. Okay, so this is just a good graphic that I put in your notes. House bill gets a number, it's assigned to committee, subcommittee, hearings, subcommittee markup, full markup. Then it goes to House rules, because the House rules is going to be open, closed, or modified. Okay, bill is put on the calendar. Okay, the bill either dies or it is passed. Okay, over here you get number assigned, subcommittee assigned, hearing, subcommittee markup, full committee markup. Bill's put on the calendar. Could get a filibuster, floor action. They're going to vote on it. Bill's passed. Okay. Now, right here in the middle is that conference committee. Okay, because you're going to have two different versions of the same bill because the rules in the House and the Senate are so different. So senators really have the opportunity to change a bill more than House members do. Okay, so they're going to be, generally there's going to be a difference between the two bills. So the conference committee's job is to reconcile those differences, compromise, as we've said in here before. Okay. Members of the conference committee are usually from the committee that the bill came from in the respective houses. So the infrastructure committee or the transportation committee, as we continue to talk about this bill. If it makes it to conference committee, there's a good chance there's room for compromise. These people have worked on the bill before. They're generally supporters of the bill. And after the versions are reconciled or the differences are resolved, a committee report is drafted. Okay, remember, when a bill comes out of committee, they have a report or a summary of the bill, which is what most members use to make their decisions. Okay, so members will look over this report. Okay, I think I had you underline this on the other slide. Okay, it's important because they're not going to read the whole bill. Okay, so it's rare if it reaches this point that the bill will fail. Okay, and I'll go back over that again. I'm going to go through the Obamacare law here in a little bit. Okay, it's rare that it's going to fail. This is some good pictures here of just you've got the House side. This is actually the Senate side. You got the House side over here, and they're working out the differences between the two bills. Okay, this is another good picture of a hearing room over here. So then the bill's got to go back to the House and the Senate after the conference committee's done with it and be voted on again. If the same exact, this would be version 3 of the bill. The same exact bill passes both houses, it's going to the president. Okay. And the president has 4 options. Good. Okay. So president has 4. Okay. Now the first 2 are, I think everybody already knows. Okay. Sign the bill, becomes a law. Okay. Veto the bill, it's rejected. Now, Congress can override that veto with the 2/3 majority in both houses. Okay. Now, these last 2 options here all revolve around 10 days. Guys, Congress is like school. We have Thanksgiving break. We call it Christmas break. They call it winter break. Okay. They have summer break. We have summer break. Okay. Congress is pretty much on the same schedule as schools. All right. So when they're in session, we're in session right now. So is Congress in session right now. Okay. So the bill goes to Congress or to the president for 10 days. Okay. If it sits on the president's desk for 10 days, Congress is in session, it automatically becomes law. Okay, now there's no political science term for this. Okay, I have one for it. We made it up. Okay, so C, this is called the ghost writer provision. So on your essay, if you don't want to write out that if after 10 days of the bill being on the president's desk and Congress is in session, it automatically becomes a law. You could just write the ghost writer provision, which the first year I taught this class, many, many years ago, I had a student named Don Gerens who came up with this term. Okay. It's not in any history, government political science book yet. Okay. But we're going to call it the ghost writer procedure. There's no name like filibuster or pocket veto. Okay. It automatically becomes law. Now, if after 10 days of the bill sitting on the president's desk and Congress is out of session or adjourned, it's an automatic veto or a pocket veto. So the president doesn't have to actually veto it, it automatically gets vetoed. Good morning. Now, any idea why a president would use one of these last 2 options? Why the president would not sign a bill but just let it become law? That might be a good reason too. Or yeah, you don't generally agree with the law, but it's the will of the people, it's the will of the legislature, so you don't want to attach your name to it, but you're going to let it become law. That's an option. The pocket veto, I guess, is just being gutless. You know, you're going to veto it, just go ahead and veto. Okay, so those are the 4 options of how a bill becomes a law. Or 4 options, presidential actions. Cool? This is the last slide. Anybody have notes printed out? This is the last slide. Yes, it is. Uh-oh. Maybe what we'll be doing Thursday. What is today? Monday? Yeah, sounds like tomorrow will be a review day. Yeah. But not before I explain this to you again, this whole process again. Okay? And I'm going to show you how the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare became law, because it's really kind of interesting. I'm going to erase this. This has been up here for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, it's been up here for 2 weeks. I'm going to erase it. Okay. And I'm going to erase that. Guys, most Americans don't know this story, but you will when I'm done with it. Okay. We done with writing up here?
Mr. Ebert, are we
Yes.
gonna have to take a final in this class?
Nope. Unless you have a C. Or 3 or more unexcused absences. Not absences, unexcused absences, right? Okay, in previous years, it's been absences. Okay, so not many unexcused absences happen around here. You know what I mean? But they do for some people, I guess. I have a way of checking that. But if you have an A or a B in here and do not have the absences, you do not have to take a fine. Extra credit. I'll have this test. We'll have another test at least, and more homework. So still got time. Work on your grades. But okay, one of the things that's going to help you with your grade is being able to write a good essay on this next test. Okay. So listen, I got to take you back 2008. Barack Obama was elected. Now, when he ran for president, I'm not trying to be political here. When he ran for president, he said he wanted to do some type of national health care system. Okay, he was elected. Okay, and Democrats won majorities of both houses. Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the House in the House of Representatives, and Harry Reid was the Senate Majority Leader for the Democrats in the Senate. The Democrats also had 60 seats in the Senate. That's a very important number, isn't it? Because 60 votes can stop a what? Correct. Okay, but some crazy stuff happens during this process. Okay, so when this bill is introduced, as I've said multiple times here, guys, it's 2,600 pages long. Nancy Pelosi sent it to 11 different committees in the House for them to work on different parts of the bill. Do some of these committees, most of these committees have nothing to do with healthcare? Yes, most of them have nothing to do with it, but you got to divide up the labor, get people to work on this, okay? So it goes to these 11 different committees that are all chaired by Democrats because the Democrats control the majority. They control all the chair people. They have the majority of seats on every committee. So the Republicans can't stop this in the House, okay? So this is worked on, okay? They come up with this 2,600-page bill called the Affordable Care Act, okay? ACA, okay? Or otherwise known as Obamacare. Now, Obama said that you can call it Obamacare. It doesn't bother him, so it's not a slight to call it that, okay? So the Affordable Care Act is voted on in the House. 0 Republicans vote for it, okay? And all the Democrats, I think maybe 2 Democrats didn't vote for it, okay? But this bill passes. This is version 1 of the Affordable Care Act, okay? Is this bill going to spend money? Yes. So where does it have to start? Got to start in the House, right? All right, so that's all happened. Then you send it over to the Senate, okay? Now, obviously, the Democrats are in charge here. They have a supermajority, what you would refer to as a supermajority, 60-40. Okay, now, I got to interject the story here. Okay, back in 2007, one of these longtime senators for the Democrats is a guy named, what's his name? No, thank you. I think he's dead by now. That's Harry Byrd. His last name's Kennedy. I'm trying to remember first name. Robert. Not Bobby. Not John F. Kennedy.
Michael.
No.
Vincent.
No.
Memorial.
Ted Kennedy. Okay, listen. 2007. Ted Kennedy, who's been in the Senate for about 30 years. He represents the state of Massachusetts, okay, is diagnosed with brain cancer. Now, if he were to die, so this news breaks in 2007, if he were to die, who would fill that seat, choose the replacement for him? The governor of Massachusetts, okay? The governor of Massachusetts in 2007 was a Republican. Of course, Ted Kennedy's a Democrat, yes? So this scared the people, the politicians in Massachusetts. They're like, oh no, if Ted dies, this Republican governor is going to pick a replacement that's a Republican. You follow me? So the Massachusetts state legislature changed their state constitution to say that if one of our senators dies, they will hold a special election instead of allowing the governor to appoint a new senator. Okay? Well, guess what happens in 2008? No. A Democrat won the governor of Massachusetts. But they didn't change the law back. So the law is still, if one of these senators from Massachusetts dies, they hold a special election. Okay? Oh, this is going to come back to bite. Actually, it's going to come back to bite all of us. Okay, so listen. The bill goes over to the Senate. Ted Kennedy's still there. Okay, they're working on it. They got 60 votes. Okay, but remember, the Senate, the rules to change this bill. Hey guys, there's a lot wrong with this bill that needs to be fixed. The Senate has their 2 cents. So version 2, over here, version 2 of the ACA, Affordable Care Act, is different than version 1. A lot different. You with me? Okay, this bill passes 60-0. Not one Republican, and the Republicans couldn't filibuster. You follow me? So version 2 and version 1 have passed their respective houses. This is happening in 2009, rolling into 2010. Okay? So where do these bills have to go? What's the next step? Step 5, conference committee. Okay, so version 1, version 2, conference committee. While the bill is in conference committee, Ted Kennedy dies. This was the last vote he made in the Senate, was to vote for version 2 of the Affordable Care Act. Oh, crap. The Democratic governor of Massachusetts cannot appoint a replacement. So they're going to have a special election. And everybody in the country knows what this means. If a Republican wins this seat, which now the Democrats only have 59, it's over. So the Republicans put up a candidate, Democrats put up a candidate in Massachusetts. The Republican candidate is a guy named Scott Brown, a former underwear model. I'm not making that up, okay? And guys, you have to understand, Republicans in Massachusetts are like Democrats from Kansas. No, they tend to be moderate. You know what I mean? Like our Democrats are fairly moderate in Kansas. We do have progressive, Bernie Sanders loving people, but Republicans in Massachusetts tend not to be like super conservative. You know what I mean? So they don't like scare voters. Mitt Romney was the governor of Massachusetts at one point. Okay, he's a moderate Republican, and so was Scott Brown. He's a moderate Republican and a good candidate. The candidate the Democrats they put up a woman that was pretty controversial. Now, both said, Scott Brown said, if I'm elected, I will vote against the Affordable Care Act. The woman that was running for the Democrats said, I will vote for the Affordable Care Act. Guess who won? Massachusetts is one of the most liberal Democratic states of the 50. Scott Brown won that seat, the Republican. It's crazy. Okay, what were the voters of Massachusetts saying? They didn't want what? They didn't want the Affordable Care Act. Now, guys, if you move to Massachusetts, their state health care laws mirror the Affordable Care Act. They already have this type of health care in Massachusetts. Okay? We don't in Kansas. And so the voters were saying, we don't want this. Okay. Scott Brown wins. Bill goes into conference committee. They come up with version 3. You send it back to the House, you send it back to the Senate, right? It's got to be voted on again because you can't send 2 different bills to the president. You need one bill. What's going to happen in the Senate to version 3? Filibuster. Not going anywhere. Not one Republican is going to vote for this. All right. Use your brains right here and tell me how the Affordable Care Act became law in 2009. No, there was no murder. Come on. Work this out. Same bill has to pass both houses.
Other Republicans.
Nope. Not one Republican voted for the Affordable Care Act in either house. But it became law.
Vice President.
Nope. Nope. Has version 2 already passed the Senate? You think if you send version 2 over to the House, Nancy can get votes to pass it? This is what happened. Version 2 has already passed the Senate. So they're going to send version 2 over here And Nancy Pelosi famously said, I'm not kidding here, you've got to pass the bill to find out what's in the bill. She said that to the American people. Okay? A bill that's going to fundamentally change healthcare in this country. You got to pass the bill to find out what's in it. Now, guys, here's the thing. Democrats at the time said version 2 is a bad piece of legislation. When they do this, guys, they always pass bills knowing that it's got to go to conference committee. And any problems with the bill that are existing, they can fix here. The bill never got fixed. So version 2 got passed. Version 1 is dead. Version 3 is dead. This bill is bad. So when they pass this version 2 over here and then send it to the president, he can't make changes to it. Nobody can make changes to this bill, otherwise it won't pass. Now, Democrats won't admit this today, but at the time they were saying, yeah, this is a bad bill because it hadn't been fixed here. Okay, so what we saw right out of the gate with the Affordable Care Act, there were a lot of problems rolling this out, getting it to work. Okay, and guys, for all intents and purposes, today the Affordable Care Act is dead. Okay, the Affordable Care Act was built on 2 premises. One, the individual mandate. Meaning, you guys know what a mandate is, right? That's when the government tells you you have to do something. That when you turn 27, you have to buy health insurance. You do not have a choice. That's a mandate. If you don't buy health insurance, they can tax you. Now, when they sold this to the American people, they called it a fine. Now, guys, if you want to drive in the state of Kansas, you got to have auto insurance. You got to have liability insurance, okay? Now, driving is a privilege that can be taken away from you, okay? So you don't have to buy auto insurance, and you don't have to drive, okay? Where does the power in the Constitution lie to force somebody, any American, to buy something or fine them if they don't? Does that power exist? No. Okay, but that's how this was sold, that you would pay a fine. Now, when 26 states sued the federal government for saying they don't have the power to fine somebody for not buying something, the Obama administration said, no. It's not a fine. It's a tax. The Supreme Court bought that argument. Okay, and so if you don't buy health insurance at the age of 27, you will be taxed, not fined. Okay. Now, that's dead. Now, the thing that most people like about this, especially young people, is you guys can stay on your parents' health insurance till the age of 26. Okay, so after college, you can move back into the basement and stay there for a few years and not be responsible for yourself and your own health insurance. And then you really have to grow up at 27. Which is happening a lot in this country. All right? Where do you think all these Antifa protesters come from? They come from the basement of their parents' house. These people don't have jobs. Yeah, they're getting checks from the government, stimulus checks. They got a little cash in their pocket. Okay? People with jobs have to go to work. They don't protest for a living. So, now, the other part of Obamacare is the employer mandate. Which means if you have a certain number of employees, 50, you have to provide health insurance for your employees. Okay? Now, right off the bat, you look at a company like McDonald's, which oftentimes pays its people minimum wage, or at least they start at minimum wage and maybe work up a few cents from here and there, right? How is McDonald's going to afford health care for all its people? What's going to happen to the price of all the food? Yeah, I mean, of course. So the Obama administration started giving waivers to certain employers, like McDonald's, that they did not have to provide insurance, okay? So the whole thing was off to a bad start. Now, the parts of it are still in existence, okay? So if you are poor in the state of Kansas, okay, you can qualify for Medicaid. The problem we have in this country, guys, are the people in between, the middle class, the lower middle class. If you're poor, guys, you qualify for benefits. If you're rich, you can afford everything. But if you're in the middle or the lower middle, you don't qualify for the free stuff, and you can't afford the expensive stuff, which health insurance is expensive. It's kind of like college. You know what I mean? There's grants for people that are academically talented, yet poor. There's lots of money out there for folks like that. Okay? And then you have the rich that can afford the tuition at some of these universities. It's the people in the middle. Okay? I was looking at, so we're looking at college right now for Lily, okay? And she's also trying to play volleyball. So we put this stuff out on the volleyball recruiting website and all that. And this coach from the University of Chicago contacts. I don't know, you guys know the University of Chicago? It's one of the best universities in the world. Definitely top 10 in the United States. As far as like scientific research and stuff like that, which is what Lily wants to do. Tuition. $80 grand a year. So I started looking at it. And so you can receive financial aid for that institution if you make under $125,000 a year. So they're viewing you as poor with $125,000 a year. You can get aid because it's so freaking expensive. You know what I mean? But what if you make, combined, my wife and I say we make $150,000 a year. We're in the middle. You know what I mean? You're not going to get any money. So you either got to be rich or you got to be poor. The people in the middle, they're not going to University of Chicago. Unless maybe you ace the ACT. The average ACT score is at 34. Average. Same thing as Washington University in St. Louis. 34 is the average. 50 grand a year to go. They have a really good volleyball team, though. So their coach was like, we got some other recruits we like a little bit better. They'll probably have a lot of this, too. And a little bit higher score. So, yeah. The system, middle class and the lower middle class is tough in this country, guys. That's why you got to try and climb that ladder. Hopefully you can find a job where, they help provide insurance for you, that sort of thing. You got till you're 27 to figure this out, guys, okay? Now, most people in their 20s don't get really sick. How often does somebody in their 20s have heart disease? That's the #1 killer in America. How many people in their 20s have cancer? Not very many. It does happen to young people, but it's rare, okay? So as far as like major health bills in your 20s, I went without insurance for a few years, guys. When I was 25, 6, I moved to Louisiana, and I got allergies really bad. I had to go see an allergy specialist. I had like $2,500 in savings. And then I had to get my wisdom teeth cut out. And then that was like $1,200. I didn't have insurance. You know what I mean? So I just wrote a check out of my $2,500 savings for $1,200. It's tough without insurance. Okay. So the idea here is good. The legislation was not. Okay. And you guys all have your own opinions about whether you think nationalized healthcare is good or bad and so forth, okay? But obviously to do something nationally would be very expensive. Okay, so. All right, that is.